Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Stacks. I'm your host, Bill Stacks, and today I got former 1% club member, Bob. What's up, Bob?
Hey, Bill, how are you, man? Good to meet you again.
Biker News Canada.
Biker News Canada.
Shout out to Biker News Canada. Make sure you guys go subscribe to his channel, Biker News Canada. So, you were a former outlaw member, and you were talking, and you said that we were talking about London, Canada, and you said you went out to England.
Yeah. So when we spoke last time, we had a great interview, but I missed a whole big part of the story. So, and keep in mind, everything happened for me fast once I joined the club, like really fast. It seems like those guys got shot one April, and the following April, they had the guys that they claimed did it in custody. And well, the guys that did it, let's face it, they beat the charges. I can say it that way now. So they had them in custody by the following April, and I was already a full patch member. And when those guys got shot the April before, I was still in the hang around stage. So in that year that took them to make the arrest and find these guys, I started to probate and got my full patch. And then in that time, my sponsor, Bandit, took me, him and I decided to go to Daytona because I'd never been to Daytona before. And the Outlaws are pretty prevalent down there, right? So, and him and I have been hanging out with the guys from the Detroit chapter at that time. And so we got a hold of them, and they held a couple guys back for us, and we came over and joined them, and went down in a van with a trailer with a couple bikes on the back because we left in a snowstorm. Even if you're outlaws, you're not riding through the snow to go to Daytona.
What were the Detroit guys like?
So the Detroit guys were. There's a couple of them, man. I really, really, really loved hanging out with them guys. There's a young guy. He was in like a thrash metal band called Killing Floor, and they were producing CDs and stuff. Man, this guy was really cool. And then there was the old timers, because like I said in the last interview, when Taco was the guy, a lot of the power base shifted to Detroit because that's where he was from. So not saying that that's where they put everything, but so there's the older heads that have been there 30 years. They're telling you outlaw history like probably they lived it, man. Like, these guys are cool.
So when Taco was on the run, was he still in power in Detroit and throughout the outlaw community?
Yeah, as far as I know, yes. Yeah. And again, it was early in my career, so I wasn't privy to that kind of information really. But we kept going in the same direction and all that, so nothing changed from our end. Him being on the run, I mean,
Yeah.
So then when the cops arrested these two brothers and charged them for shooting our two guys, William, Mr. J, they bless you guys. And I was hanging out at the clubhouse one afternoon with a couple of the guys and kind of leaning on the fence. We kind of had a spot so we could look over the fence and look up and down the street. And this dude comes wandering by, and he holds me out a piece of paper. And me, because I'm feeling pretty cocky and I got my patch, I'm the smartest guy in town now, I grab it off him. I go, "What's this?" He goes, "Open up, you'll see you've been served." I go, "Served what?" He goes, "Open up and see." He said, "I've done my job, I'm leaving." Open up, and we call the prosecuting attorneys up here the Crown Attorney, because they represent the Queen at that time, the King now. So the Crown had witnessed me. That was my subpoena to be a witness for the prosecution on the double murder charge. Now I'm a 1%er at this point. It's like, well, I can't do that. So I'm like,
yeah, it doesn't matter if it's your friend or your brother that got killed. It does not matter. You're not testifying, right?
Yeah, man, it's a non-starter. If you get up there on the stand, and it was pretty bad. Like even back in the days, um, if you're running a bail hearing on a charge, you couldn't take the stand at your own bail hearings to get out. Taking the stand was taking the stand. So
Wow.
yeah, so I don't even think at a trial. That's why you see a lot of guys with patches taking a deal or something off. You know what I mean? Because you can't get on that stand because once you're on the stand, you're out of control because you don't know what they're going to ask you. Or how they're going to twist you around so that maybe you're going to end up saying something you shouldn't have. So the blanket rule was no witness stand.
Is it still that rule? Do you know?
I got no idea. I think it's actually a good rule for safety.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
But in some aspects, it's probably not. Like, what if you're in a car accident, right?
Well, exactly.
And you got to sue somebody for the insurance. Can you make a statement then or no?
Yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? But I know in the criminal courts, the answer is no. Maybe there's a distinction between criminal courts and civil courts. Who knows, right? But yeah. There's always these little interesting rules that you really don't think about, and even when you're in the club and it happens, you don't think much about it. You just go by whatever the rule is and keep moving, right?
They say about calling 911 too, right?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to call 911.
Yeah. If there's a 911 call off your phone, it better be a butt dial. And even then, because there's a lot of guys back in the day that were talking about what's the name, Sonny down there in Arizona near the end, allegedly 911 his old lady.
Yeah. She had a medical issue or something and she needed an ambulance and he called 911, but they were having a domestic dispute and he got in big trouble for that 911 call.
Well, he could have had his shit pulled. By rights, maybe he should have. I don't know. It's not my club, so I won't speak on somebody else's club. But well, actually, the night that my buddies got shot. Sorry. When I came back in the bar, I got somebody else to call the ambulance. I didn't call it. And that was a conscious decision. You know what I mean? It was like, nope, get him to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just in case it ever comes out somewhere down the road. You know what I mean?
So how far into you being in the club are you served with this paper?
I think maybe I'm under a year still. You know what I mean? Like I'm in the months still. I'm still counting my months. And so I get that, and then I'm stressing right out, right? Because I got my house that's got to have the mortgage and the bills paid for. I got the club that I just got my full patch for. I really don't got a whole bunch of money to go on the lam. It's expensive as hell to go on the run, right? And it's not like we had chapters all across Canada where I could go to maybe another province and hang out. And I'm talking to my bros, and they're like, well, as soon as you get bored, you can pop your head out, and they're going to grab you anyway. That's okay. So then if they get me to the courthouse and I refuse to take the stand, then what happens? Well, then they charge you with contempt and you go to jail.
Yeah.
I said, well, that don't sound like a good idea either, right? So I borrowed some money, and my sponsor there said, remember them two guys from England that we got along real good with in Daytona? I said, yeah. He says, you remember their names? I said, yeah, of course. He says, do you remember where they said they were from? I said, yeah, of course. So we did a little research into it, and we didn't phone anybody. We didn't tell anyone on this side of the ditch I was leaving. We didn't phone anyone over there so I could get through the airports, right?
Yeah.
Next day, the cops had it in their head that I was coming. So beautiful. Let them play with that, right? So the one day they call me up and they go, okay, the preliminary hearing starts tomorrow. You got to be there at 9. I'm like, yep. Okay, man, I'll see you tomorrow at 9. Okay, that's great. And then that night I went to Pearson and I jumped on the first plane that had a seat and went to Heathrow. Bam, I was in England. Yeah, what a
Now,
trip.
were these two guys? Were they in the club?
So they were in that club from England that I was explaining to you. I'd called themselves Outlaws, but they didn't have the same back patch and the colors weren't the same. They weren't black and white. And actually looked at it, if you're looking at them, that they were going to end up being banditos because banditos had a big presence in Europe at that time. And we had some Scandinavian countries and maybe some chapters in Belgium, I believe, and that was about it.
But there
So
were
these
no legit outlaws in London.
not in England at the time, no. So, kind of along the way, I was kind of giving a message, just keep your eyes open and tell us your honest opinion about these guys and whatever. And when I was done the trip, the guy who was in charge of Canada at that time was waiting for me at the clubhouse, and Bandit and the Hammer came and got me at the airport, and the boss was waiting for me at the clubhouse. That was the first thing he asked was, "Are those guys ready? And are they running a good ship over there?" Little did I know he'd been there before, and some other guys had been there before. So this whole thing had been courted for a long time, right?
Yeah.
But I show up in London. I don't really know. All I know is that the name on the back of their jacket said Leicestershire, and it's spelt all fucked up, but you pronounce it Leicestershire. And I knew their names. So I got into Heathrow in the middle of the night. Went downtown London, England, and grabbed a McDonald's and grabbed a room and went to bed. Right, I was tired.
Did you have your patch with you?
Mm-mm.
You didn't bring it.
No, I didn't bring it because I was going through too many customs, and the fact that I was kind of supposed to be doing something else for the crown, I thought I might not make it through. Even at customs, they were pretty easy breezy because my mom was born in Britain, so they said, where are you going and what are you doing? And I showed up with a one-way ticket. He said, why do you only got a one-way ticket? I saw you buy the return ticket when I'm done because I don't know how long I'm staying. He goes, well, how long are you staying? I said, I don't know. I said, I guess as long as you let me. And he said, well, I'll stamp you in for 6 months. So he let me stay for 6 months. And I think mainly because I told him that my family was British, and I named a couple British cities in England and said that's what I was going to go check out. And that was good enough for him. So I wake up next morning, and I before I left Canada, I borrowed some money off one of the brothers in the club. You can't show up with your pockets totally empty. I need somewhere to stay, right? That's not cool. Maybe if it was your own club, you could do that, but these guys weren't really our true club brothers yet. It's not a good look. So when I was taking the subway from Heathrow into the city, I struck up a conversation with a couple, and they were from there, and there happened to be a map of the rail system for England over there, and they got a pretty cool rail system. You don't need to own a car to live over there, eh?
Yeah,
it's a small country, like square footage wise. So they explained to me that Leicestershire is a county, and Leicester is the city inside of that county. They're spelled the same. Just one's got the word sheer at the end. That means it's a county. I think they do that for a lot of their places because we had another chapter in a place called Derbyshire, and the city was Derby, and they're all spelled the same. So they explained to me what to do. I stayed, Piccadilly Circus or whatever in London, England, and they explained to me what platform to go to, what ticket to buy. I bought a ticket. So then the next afternoon, I'm in the city where they live now. I'm getting closer. I still haven't called nobody. I don't want to call nobody and just make it awkward or whatever, right? Because if the cops are looking for me and I know I hang out with you every day, they're going to bust your ass every day until you convince me to go turn myself in, right?
yeah.
It's how they work. So I didn't want to put my guys into that sort of situation for God knows how long because we didn't know. And I got from off the train and jumped into a taxi. I said, just take me to a biker bar, where bikers will be, a strip joint, whatever. And he just takes me to a pub. I walk in, there's nobody in the fucking place. I go to the bartender, I go, if I was an outlaw, where would I be right now? And he gives me a funny look, like, who the fuck's this guy, right? And he's got, because they're in Britain, they think he's got an American accent. So who's this Yankee? What's he want? And he said, well, hang on, I'll call one for you. I said, that'd be great. Grab me a beer. I had a beer. He made a phone call. This little dude comes in. He's wearing overalls and he's all got all grease on him and shit. Obviously, he's a working man. And he kind of stops in. Just a little good fella, too. Kez was his name. Great guy. And he yells, who the hell here? There's only me in the whole joint, right? He yells, who the hell here is looking for an outlaw? So I get up off my bicycle. I go, this fucking outlaw is looking for an outlaw. He goes, what? So I blew his mind, made his day. He's like, what the hell? Who are you? What's going on? I give him a rundown, tell him the story. He's like, all right, get in. We jump in his work van. He takes me to the clubhouse. Just like that, man. It was so cool.
Wow.
He called up, what was their names? It was, Kearney and, oh, shit, I don't want to miss his name. Kearney and what was the other guy's name? I think it started with an F. I'll get it. It'll come to me while we're talking. That was the two guys that were in England. So along the way, he whipped out a cell and he called, what do I want to say, Fruity? I don't think it's Fruity, though. These guys have funny nicknames, though, man. Kez, Kearney, and, come on, tall, thin guy, really good guy. Hey, it'll come to me. So he called him and he said, did you meet this guy in Daytona and blah, blah, blah. And he said, yeah, I take him to the clubhouse. And that was it. I was in.
So what's it like when these guys finally come to the clubhouse and you're talking to them? Do you tell them what's going on?
Yeah. So I tell them what's going on just in case they want me not there. You know what I mean? In the case they're up to something or they got their own kind of steam or whatever. But they were all good with it. They called, obviously somebody called back to Canada and to ban it and got the, that's. And it was just the start of the prelim. So you know how it goes, prelim. Great big 4, 5, 6 months recess, and then they run the trials. And it was a double murder. Plus, they had some old drug charges, and they all got lumped into one trial. So I didn't know how long I was going to be there at all. It could have been years, right?
Yeah.
I showed up with like $5,000 Canadian. By the time you switch that into British pounds, you don't have much left.
Really?
Yeah, it's like 2.5 Canadian dollars to make 1 British pound.
Oh, yeah. It's just like American money. When you switch it over, you get less money, right?
Yeah. So I started out with 5,000 Canadian, the guy lent me. And I think when I switched it over, I had a couple thousand, and I didn't know how long I was staying.
Oh, man.
So I was like, listen, it looks like you guys are all working. Smart guys. That's what I love about going to other countries and other places to see what that they do for an income and how they swing it. So these guys, not the whole chapter, but some of the chapter, invested in the auto salvage business. That's the perfect business for people like us. You know what I mean? So if one maybe gets nicked off the street, but maybe you needed that Mercedes motor, it comes in after hours and you got a Mercedes motor for your customer, whatever, right?
Yeah,
so it's a good business, I'm sure, the Italian mafia and all those places have done all these sort of ventures over the years too. You know what I mean?
Of course.
There's not too many.
Roy DeMeo was shipping cars overseas.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
he must have been the original shipping cars overseas because he was dead a long time, isn't he?
Yeah. That was in the 80s, I believe.
Wasn't he the guy they called Crazy Joe?
No, Roy DeMeo.
Oh, okay.
He had the Gemini the Gemini crew, and they were shipping a lot of cars overseas. They worked for Big Paul Castellano.
Well, they say
And,
that the Italian mafia in Montreal allegedly is back into that because they got the docks back again.
whoever has the docks has the money, right?
Having those docks is big business, eh? Wow.
Yeah. Drugs, all that comes
Wow.
in there.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Imagine you got controls of the docks, right? And drugs are coming in. You can be like, bring everyone over there. You're good over there. You know exactly what to do, where to go.
Yeah.
So you control the docks, you control the money.
And they're paying the inspectors just to leave that container over there alone.
Yeah.
So everyone gets a taste.
100%. Or they'll be like, oh, listen, bring it over there. There's a big Caesar over there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or, they know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, one of the candidates in our federal election, he's saying he wants to put a scanner at every border.
A scanner?
I think they got some sort of ion scanner that can pick up irregular shapes. It's basically, I think, an X-ray.
Yeah.
I think they're going to start to try to X-ray every truck that comes across.
I think there's so many that it's probably impossible for them to do everything, right? Or do you think they could?
I don't think they can. It's the same with the containers.
Yeah, it's too many.
They got the X-rays right there on the dock, right at the shipyard, but they can't put every container through that.
No, they could do random ones and things like that.
Or ones that they got a suspicion of.
Yeah. So what's you go there? Do you start working for them?
No. They said, no. You're our guest. We're going to take care of you. Don't worry what it is.
Do they know you have to stay for a while?
Yeah, they're all good with it. It turned out a lot of this chapter was single guys, and they lived at the clubhouse.
They'd all just lived in this. How big was the clubhouse?
None of the houses are very big in England. Sorry, Bill.
Sorry.
2 levels. So, but the main level was basically just enough area to have a bar area and a kitchen area. And then upstairs was some seating areas, and then a great big bedroom full of bunk beds. So if you were really tired, you better drink yourself into a stupor so you can sleep. Because if you're the last guy in that bedroom and you're tossing and turning, you're not sleeping. Everyone's snoring and farting. It was just like going to camp.
Oh, so everyone sleeps in there, like they all.
It was wicked. I really liked it, actually. I must be more of a communist than I realized.
So what do you start doing there? Like, what's your average day like?
Nothing. So I was kind of getting bored hanging out there. They had a couple guys that didn't have traditional jobs, and they come around and check me out and hang out with me and drive me around. And I don't know if you've ever been to Europe, but I've been twice now. I've been once to England, and for that big long trip, and during that we went to Ireland. We'll do Ireland. We'll talk about Ireland too. And then I've been once to Portugal. But every time I go to Europe, it's like you're stepping into the History Channel. I love it.
Yeah,
I love that shit. You can't believe how, because we're pretty young countries over here, man.
Are you drinking every day over there? Like, are you?
Geez, yeah. I started drinking every day. These guys love going to the pub. They took me out. They treated me great. When they would go out Friday nights, we'd rip around the city and go to a pub, smash a pint. Next pub, smash a pint for the night, right? And a bunch of times they had a bike for me to ride. They're like, here, go grab so-and-so's Fat Boy, and I'd fire up the Fat Boy, and I'd be riding with them through the little narrow streets of these little towns on the wrong side of the road. It was pretty wild.
Do they ride in formation and everything?
Well, when I was there, I don't know what was going on with it. They were just having a laugh because I was hanging out with them. I wasn't on a bike this one time. It was a national run. And oh man, they just all took off all at once, all going the same direction up on sidewalks. I was like, holy fuck, you get fucking screamed at if you did that in North America. Because, to be honest with you, it was dangerous. I like, fuck, I'm glad I'm not in the middle of that pack. So, but no, they would they would go for like supper and stuff at a little cafe, and it was basically the lady just switched her living room into a place to put about four little tables of four, and she made a home cooked meal back in her kitchen, and we'd all come in, and she'd tell us what was for supper, and you'd either say yes or no. I think there might have been two choices. I think it was only one choice, and she just gave you a home cooked meal, meat, potato, and veg, right?
Yeah.
And we go, and that was it. That was our supper, and away we go for the night. We were good to go, man.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I really liked that over there. So you weren't spending $40 because it's a fusion food truck and everything's got to be fancy and overpriced. Food trucks used to be the go-to. Now they're all they made them all stupid and overpriced. But yeah, so they took care of me that way. They had bikes for me to ride. There was a university campus in their city that probably once a month they'd have a big party and they'd open it to the public, and they'd have this like Rob Zombie and music like that just smashing through the sound system, right? I'm like, holy fuck. Thank you. I like that kind of music. But they'd take me out there. They bought me all my beers. Everything was on them. I ran out of smoke. Somebody ran out and grabbed me a pack of smokes. Like, they treated me like really, really, really well, above and beyond.
And
They
while
took
you're
me
there,
out. No, go ahead.
while you're there, are they asking like about your club and what's it like over here? Are they asking you questions?
Yes, that was a good thing. It did actually have a lot of those conversations. And, because I was green enough, I knew enough not to say something that if I didn't know the answer, I would tell them I didn't know the answer. You know what I mean? It'd be like, yeah, you got to remember, bro, I'm only a few months in and this is where I happen to be. I said, but, some of the stuff you're asking is out of where I'm at on the thing right now. Okay, I get it. So they were never like bummed out. But the one guy was telling me, but that, yeah, they've been having meetings for a year now. And the coin toss was because there was already 81 was already in England at that time, and they'd already had confrontations with them and bang them ups in the middle of the night and stuff. So it was between, are we going to join up with the Outlaws or the Banditos? And like I say, the way that they colored the patches red and gold, it looked like they were going to go Bandito, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think. And then after a while, after like 2 months, Leicester was actually it was a good chapter for how many guys had. I was gonna say it was a small chapter, but it's not. It had a good population. But anyways, the Leicester guys, most of them had jobs and stuff, and the other chapters from their club have bumped up to the fact that Bob from Canada was there, and they wanted to hang out with him. So then they packed me up and we jumped in the car. And next thing you know, I'm living in Birmingham, which is like the second biggest city in England, right?
Yeah.
Do you watch that series Peaky Blinders? It was a good series.
I've seen a little bit.
Yeah, that's based in Birmingham. And actually some of the roads that they mentioned on that TV show, they still call the roads the same thing. It's called the Loop. There's the Bull Loop down by the market. And they had that way back in the 20s, I guess. That show was the show was supposed to be after World War One, I think, in between 1 and 2.
Yeah,
was the time zone. I like that show. So yeah, so then they took me to Birmingham, and then from there, the one guy didn't have a job, and they made sure he had a car to take me. So he started taking me to all the other chapters. I think the only chapter I didn't get to was a place called Wolfhampton, I think. And I think I went to all the other clubhouses that were in that club. They had one in a place called Forest of Dean. Don't ask me where the fuck it is. All I know is we were in the trees, man. There's trees. The road ended and the trees started, and there's goddamn sheep everywhere on the road. Weird as shit. And a town called Forest of Dean, and we had a chapter there. So he took me out there. We had to cut through London, England to get there. And these guys were ex-military, MI6 guys who had they'd been in George Bush Senior's, the dad's Gulf War.
Yeah.
And they'd spent a lot of time in Sarajevo in the Balkan War.
Did you come across any other clubs while you're there? Like that were friendly with these guys? Or
Yeah. There's another club. There was a multi-chapter club all within the city limits of London, and they were called the Outcasts. And I think, from what I understand, half of that club came outlaw, and half of that club went over to the 81. So
it got divided, basically.
Yeah, that happens. Well, that happened with that club that the Outlaws turned outlaws in Canada to get here. Only half of the chapters came, and the other half became instant enemies.
That's crazy. And then they know each other. Like, these guys were probably just hanging out with each other last week, and now they're mortal enemies.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
So that happened with that club from the Outcasts, from what I understand. I know I met him. I went to their boss's house. His wife made me supper, and I went and had a shower at their house and played with their dog and met their little girl and stuff. They had a funny story when they were first starting to hang out with the Outlaws. They kind of did. There was two couples, like one of the Outlaws and his old lady, and one of the Outcasts and their old lady. Maybe some other couples too. And the cabs in England are pretty big in the back, right? They kind of got their own compartment, like on those porn shows. So she, the one guy had a tool with him. He was just a little guy. He was only like 22 years old, and he was going to put it back, and the thing went off. It shot the other guy's old lady in the fleshy part of her ass.
What?
And they're driving around downtown London going night clubbing. So he had to take her somewhere. I can't remember where he took her. He knew somebody, thankfully. And man, dragged the lead out of her butt cheek.
And guns are very rare in London. Like, they're illegal. Guns are illegal in the city, right? Cops don't even have guns, I believe.
No, they don't. If they have what they called an armed response unit. So if the Bobby can't clunk you over the head and get you under control, he's got a radio for the arm unit.
Yeah, all they have is a nightstick, right? Yep.
Yeah, man. So these guys in England, they were beauties, man. They took me everywhere. They showed me all this shit. They fed me. They took me all these really cool parts of England. And when I stayed in Birmingham, there's a place outside of Birmingham called Tamsworth, and it had a little castle on it. And so once in a while, Joe was the guy that spent most of his time with me. Joe would get on his bike, and there'd be the spare bike in the back of the clubhouse there. He'd say, grab a helmet, and we'd ride out to this little castle out there in Tamsworth and a couple of beers and ride back. It was just like being at home. When he took me back to Heathrow, the poor guy had a tear in his eye. He's like, brother, said, if we all join up, he says, will you transfer over? I said, you know what? I said, for you, I probably would, bro. Like, we got along that well. We really, really had
like
fun.
You loved it over there, huh?
Yeah, man. I fit right into these guys. The time they took me to Ireland, bro. And we had a chapter in Wales. It was so cool. You go up this mountain. You're going up this road on the side of the mountain in Wales, and they've got castles carved into the side of the mountain, bro. It's like wicked cool out there. That shit, I love that shit, right?
Did you fly there? You took a boat.
We were driving.
You drove to where?
To Wales.
Wales.
Wales is kind of on the north of England, but it's its own country. It's like Scotland is, but it's not on the Scottish side. It's on the other side. So from Wales, you can get in a ferry, and the ferry takes you to Dublin. So I think 4 of the outlaw guys from different chapters, they say, hey, does Bob want to go to Ireland this weekend? I said, yeah, absolutely. So they stopped around and picked me up, and we first went to Wales and hung out with them guys. And then we went to the ferry, and then we were supposed to sleep on the ferry, but all we did was drink on the ferry. Then we end up in Dublin, and then we go to this town called Limerick, and it was another club that I think they were the Road Tramps or something like that, and I believe that they patched over too. So when the Outlaws came to the United Kingdom, they came and popped open quite a few chapters all at one shebang.
So it was they were spread out everywhere.
Yeah, so they had two in Wales, one in Ireland, and then I think 7 or 8. Oh no, probably more than 8, probably over 10 with the Outcasts and the Outlaws in Britain itself. So yeah.
So they were treating you like a celebrity basically, because you were the guy that could help them get transferred over.
Yeah, I got the royal treatment. They were all like wicked good to me, and we had fun. Like I say, I got drunk downtown London at the Outcast Clubhouse and don't even remember that whole night. I was behind their bar playing the music all night. That's about the last thing I remember. So fuck knows what happened there.
What about weapons? Do they carry weapons? And what kind of things were they?
Yeah, man. I was with these two guys in a chapter called Stoke-on-Trent, and we were coming out of somewhere and to the van. They were going to take me somewhere else. So they threw me in the back of the van and locked the doors. There's a work van. It had no handles on the inside, and the doors were locked. And two guys speaked off to them, and they ran over and they start bam out of nowhere, boom, 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 boom. They're in the middle of a fist fight. I'm like, holy fuck! I'm like, let me out so I can fucking kick one of them in the face too or something, right? One guy runs over, he grabs a screwdriver, he runs back over, and that ended the fight.
Oh man!
I was like, holy fuck, that escalated quickly. I said, why didn't you just let me out? I could have came out and helped chase. No, let's go. That was it, man. Wow. The one guy, man, he got married to this like 18-year-old girl, and he's probably in his early 40s. This dude, cool guy. So he rented this big nightclub in this town called Stoke-on-Trent, and this place had all these cool, big, huge nightclubs full of beautiful women, all dressed in dresses and shit like that to go to the nightclubs. Hey, beautiful place over there. So he rented the nightclub, and they were up on the stage where they're, probably back in the day bands, but where the DJs play from, and doing their vows. And right after they said "I do," they killed the lights and they let off some pyrotechnics. Well, holy fuck, we all hit the ground. We thought some bad shit was going on.
You thought the place was getting firebombed?
Crazy, eh? So yeah. So
did you say something about a grenade?
Well, that was in what was that in? It was in the Scandinavian countries, and I don't know how we all ended up in the Scandinavian countries. What is there over there? Sweden, Copenhagen, Denmark.
Denmark, yeah.
And there's another one. But anyways, so the Outlaws, the Angels, and the Banditos already were there. They got there early. And two of them outfits, I think it was the Angels and the Banditos were having a big fight. And all the bikers over there are ex-military, and their arms depots over there aren't guarded. So if a war breaks out, any citizen can go and grab themselves the weapons that they need for. So that's how it's set up in some of them countries. So one place was having a party, but see, they had like citizens there, and it was a citizen that got killed. The guy fired a rocket-propelled grenade into the fucking window of the clubhouse and blew the shit out of everything, man.
Yeah, you hear that a lot over there. It's like they all have military-grade weapons, machine guns, and different crazy guns like AK-47s and
and that's why I just picked that up on a documentary somewhere about they have arms caches all through the country.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's quite as easy as I made it sound. But
didn't you say a guy whipped a grenade out and said something? It was you that said that, right? The guy whipped a grenade out and said, and you're like, what the hell are you doing with that? Maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
Yeah, it might have been someone else. Yeah,
I
no,
did interview. I interviewed a guy from Denmark who's involved with a motorcycle club, and maybe I'm thinking of him.
could have been him. I have had the pleasure of like grabbing and seeing one of those things, but I don't know, man. I think the one out, he's like, take it and put it over there out of my vehicle. And I'm like, bro, it looks like it's sweating, man. You think we should even have this thing? Like, where's it from?
Did you see any banditos while you were out in England?
No, no, no. The only time I met a bandito was at Bike Week, which was only a couple months before I ended up in England. So yeah, so and then in Ireland, we were partying up, and we got up the next day, and there was a guy in Dublin who worked for the postal service who was wanted in England for attempted murder of a police officer. I think he got a 12 gauge in the guy's face, and it misfired. And he went on the run, and they gave him a job at the postal service, and they wouldn't fucking deport him. There's no treaty with Southern Ireland.
Wow,
Yeah, it was crazy.
that's
I met
insane.
I met this other club down there called the Chosen Few. They were cool guys too. I think
Are,
they were
are
another
they the
Irish
same?
club.
Are they the same club that's in the United States?
I'm not sure because there's the Chosen Few that are in both countries. And same with the Outcasts, because there's Outcasts in America too.
Yeah,
I think there's a black set in America, but there's Outcasts, and their
yeah,
patches look very similar. It's a skull with a big long top hat.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
So
look into it.
so the Chosen Few guys, the guys from England were busting their balls, calling them Chosen One or Two, but some of their guys were telling me that they were, that when they tell stories about the IRA and stuff in Ireland, there is one. It's not as made up. It's not as a tale. It's a true
Yeah,
story.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So we're at, you shoot the BB guns and you shoot the star out at a state fair.
yeah.
So we're at one of them games, and the BBs go everywhere, right? Well, these guys are hitting the stars out. They're sighting them in with the first one or two BBs and shooting the
Because
stars
they're
out.
like marksmen, right?
I'm like, where'd you learn how to shoot like that? He's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, yeah, fucking wild, eh?
Did the cops mess with them guys a lot? And did you have any interactions with the police?
No, it was surprising. Not too bad at all. Um, Never got pulled over when they were driving me around. Never got pulled over on a motorcycle. I bought a little Volkswagen car so I could drive myself around. I never insured it or nothing. I just used it when I needed to, sort of thing.
Yeah,
And at some point, we ended up living. There was a pub in Birmingham, and they needed security. So to get me and Joe out of the clubhouse, they set us up to be the security for this pub, and we lived upstairs of the pub. It's like fucking just lived there, ate the food out of the fridge in the kitchen, drank beer, did whatever, right? Yeah,
did you have to kick anyone out?
we we didn't even fucking sit inside the bar. We didn't care. Security, nothing. It's a pub full of old people, man.
Yeah,
But yeah, so it was pretty cool. So yeah, the Chosen One or Two, because those guys were asking me, they're saying, you got the 1,000-yard stare, and it's some army term about, if you've been in the middle of a firefight or something, the army guys come back with that look in their face, and then I told them the story about the guys at the bar and what happened. They said, okay, well, that explains it. Because after a while, you start to understand when you go into public places, you position yourself strategically and all that.
yeah.
Like it's true, After all, it just gets built in how you think and how you do things, how you move.
Definitely. So how long do you end up staying in this country for? London,
So
England.
so I'm watching the trial. This is the early days of the internet, bro. When it bing 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 through the phone, remember?
Yeah, yeah.
So they would have to take me to the one guy's house in the chapter who happened to have internet because it wasn't like it was everywhere yet. and then I would log in. It would take me, half an hour anyways. So
That was the O.J. Simpson days, right? Or before? That was after that, right? O.J.
what was
Simpson
it,
goes
like
on trial.
99? It was around 99, 2000, right around there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the prelim ends, they get bound to trial, and their defense is that after what happened, and they pulled out in the car and they split, that I came out and took a gun from a dying Willie's hand and stashed it inside the bar somewhere. And that in actuality, what had happened is they were out there in the parking lot wanting to talk to Willie and them some more and see if they could work it out. And Willie came out and shot at him, and they shot him back and shot them both and killed them both in self-defense. And
there had no proof that your guy shot at them.
Not a thing, not a bullet strike on the wall of the bar, not a, no cop checked any of the Willie's or Mr. J's hands for gunshot powder, whatever they call that, right? We've all watched all them CSI shows. Like everyone in the world has seen it.
Yeah.
And they couldn't think to preserve the hands, to check it out thoroughly, you know what I mean? So
do you ever feel bad that you didn't testify in order to get these guys?
No, because that was just in the rules that I live by. I've never felt bad about that, to be honest with you. No, because that was in the rules and I knew the rules going into it, and that was it. I had to live by it. Well, I didn't have to, but I chose to go by the rules, right?
Yeah.
When I got back, and there was a warrant for me, a bench warrant for missing court, of course. So I got back and came to the clubhouse because the flight was in the middle of the night. And then, like you say, the boss was there and he asked me some questions. We chatted. And I said, yeah. I said, a couple more guys need to get their Harleys because Harleys are expensive over there, eh? I said, but other than that, how they move, how their clubhouses are, and how they're running, yeah, they're good to go. So a couple months later, a contingent from the States and Canada went over there and did the mass party and the big patch over and a big celebration. I didn't have the funds to go back at the time, so I actually wasn't there in person. But Bandit went. Oh yeah, and when I was there, Bandit and Hammer flew their bikes over and hung out with us for 2 weeks.
Oh, they did. They came and seen you guys.
Yeah, and they brought me some of my club clothes and my jewelry. I felt more like myself again with my gear on, right? And it's like, yeah, thanks, guys. And they dropped all the fluids out of their bikes, put them on an airplane, flew them over, rode their bikes around on their way up to Birmingham to hook up with me up the highway. They got pulled over. And they were in their Outlaws Canada patches. And the cops are like, oh, my God. He's like, how long are you guys here for? That's all he wanted to know. He said, 2 weeks. He said, you promised? He said, 2 weeks. Okay, where are you going? Birmingham. Do you know how to get there, what you're doing? Yep. Okay, be safe.
Now, when these guys are there with their outlaw cuts on, are they treating them like, wow? Are they looking at them like...
Oh, yeah. Those guys got the ultimate treatment. So I know during the last interview, I mentioned that they had a big biker festival. So when they came, it was during that weekend of that biker festival was in the trip. And so they rode their bikes with the patch from Birmingham to the bike festival. And then, of course, because it was Outlaws that hosted and put on that festival, we were off in the designated club guys only section, right? So yeah.
That's awesome.
And a bunch of guys from the States came up to the biker festival too. So by that time, I've been with these guys for about 6 months or so, maybe a little less. And I'm treating them like I've known them for years, and we're calling each other names, and you know how you do with your friends out of fun and talking shit about each other. And the guys from America are like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, fucking, don't lose these guys on me. But no, it turned out I was the guy that convinced them to come. You know, they
That's
were like,
awesome.
yeah, they came 1, 2, I think 3 or 4 couples because I met all their wives and the wives cooked me home cooked meals and all that shit, man. They took care of me so well. And I think 4 couples came over for my wedding because I got married about a year after getting home.
Oh, they came and visited you after?
Yeah. The men didn't get through the airport. The men got sent home, but the women still came to the wedding.
Wow.
Yeah, man, like that's respect. Like these guys, I
Definitely.
always love these guys, man. They showed so much respect, and
Are they? Do you know if they're still involved with the club?
I got no idea about none of them.
Well, if
No,
they see this, reach out, right?
yeah, man, absolutely. Reach out,
Yeah.
get a hold of me on my channel or whatever. Fuck yeah, on Facebook. I
Yeah.
I, I made a mention because there was one guy who was a retired guy from the club, and he was one of the top tattoo guys, and they got him to do that big shoulder piece, that big gargoyle piece, and he laid that on me for nothing one afternoon, and it still looks beautiful, Dato. So I reached out to him on Facebook, but he didn't respond or nothing. But who knows?
So when you
I
get back, when you get back, how long until you find out, like, if they're gonna pick you up? You got to turn yourself in. What happens with that?
Yeah, so I went back. I talked to the guy, to my boss there, the region guy, and I just went right from there to the police station. I had my lawyer. I'd already set it up from England. I called him. He was waiting for me on that side. They arrested me there in the police station, put me in cells, took me down to the courthouse, put me in cells down there. I sat down there for about 3, 4 hours. And then my lawyer came down. He said, they're dropping the charges. You're going home. And that was it. It was over. Done.
So they didn't. Is the trial still didn't start yet, and they did the preliminaries already, or
No,
was the trial already done?
I stayed until the trial was done. And that self defense bullshit that they ran worked for them. And they beat the charges.
Wow.
Yeah. So they still had to go to the penitentiary for the original drug charges that they were on bail for. And that was it. They beat the murder charges. I've never seen them guys ever since.
Yeah, you never hear what happens with them and their life. They don't get killed down the road or nothing like that.
No, I think the oldest one got caught one time. I know the papers made it sound like he had an addiction on the rock pipe, and he held up a variety store and picked up, I think, a 3 spot for that. So, and back in the day, he was a baller. He was a mover. He was a shaker until that night.
And were these guys all friends at one point?
Like I say, that the older one, the guy that allegedly was squeezing, I was at his house with my old lady about 2 months before it happened. No, it happened in April, so the summer before it happened. But still, 6 months before it happened, we were all over there with our old ladies having a barbecue, steaks and potatoes and shit, and having a laugh and drinking beer together. And the next thing you know, he's doing that to the poor guy out in the parking lot. So it
It's
was
pretty
cool.
wild.
Yeah. But and like I say, that whole night that switched up. I hear my dogs. If you want to know, I'm looking over there. That whole night changed my whole life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like before that, there was a lot of substances that I would never put into my own body. And after that, it took a while, but I changed.
Did you just not care anymore? Is that the reason why?
I think so. And I was starting to get in that frame of mind where I was getting into it like heavy, right? So, there's always someone waiting somewhere for you. So you may as well make today like it's your last, because maybe it is.
I mean, being involved with the club, you never know, right?
Yeah, and like I say, I was getting involved with heavier people and doing more things. And I spent my whole time on the highway, usually with the road dog with me, all tooled up, going to Toronto and working with the mafia down there. I did tons of work for them guys. And they'd send me here and send me there and go see that guy and remind him he's got bills to pay, and I'd go do that.
Now, what if guys wouldn't pay the money? What would you do?
We just keep sending guys back. I'd go down there and send another couple guys and send another couple guys. Some went smooth, some didn't, you know.
Yeah.
You know, there was times I walked into a guy's place of work with my club clothing on, not the patch, just my club clothing. And I said, "Is so and so here?" And they're like, "No, he's not here." I said, "That's too bad. I need to speak to him." "Okay, thanks. I'll come back tomorrow." Well, the next day before he went to work, he went to whoever it was and paid his bill. He didn't want me going back there again.
Yeah.
I just walked in the building and spoke like that. But yeah, we had some good adventures back then.
What do you think about this guy, the Ice Pick Trammell, the guy that got arrested that was going to war with the HA, the street gang guy? You hear about him?
No, is that just new?
Yeah. He was a mafia blood family member.
Oh, the guys in Quebec?
Yeah, BMF.
Yeah. There's a couple guys out there that with their own channels that spend a lot of time on that. But I watched a guy from Canada, that crafty one, I think he's called.
Yeah. Shout out to Crafty One. He's
Yeah.
he's a great guy. He's got a good show.
Yeah, he's got the French accent.
Yeah.
I've been watching that. Well, and see, I think the only reason that the Angels are fighting back is because of how it looks. I don't think they need that business anymore. I think that they've moved on.
Yeah.
I don't know 100%, but I think that they're into other stuff. And that stuff down on street level, that should be left to the support clubs anyway.
Yeah, they don't need to. What do you think? The Outlaws have been in the news recently.
In the States, they have, yeah.
Yeah, down in Florida. Pretty wild story there with the alleged outlaw. They say it was an outlaw. We don't really know, but there's a video floating around of a guy on a bike in a cut, with an outlaw cut, shooting at a car. What do you think of that situation?
Well, the only reason that anyone would do that on their bike is because they thought that car had bad intentions for it. So
Yeah.
whether that car had been brought to his attention somewhere else, or whether he'd seen that car doing something shady somewhere else, or mix it up for another one that looked just like it.
I mean, if you were on your bike and there was a guy holding a cell phone,
yeah,
and you didn't know what was in his hand or didn't know what his intentions were.
But that's the problem. You don't really know what's in his hands. Now, me, I don't know if I'd have fucking put lead in the air, but you don't know unless you're in that spot, right? Me, I probably would have stopped up and see what he was all about, but because you can get your bike and get off the bike and be in position before he ever gets his van stopped. If he is someone that's trying to hurt you, because
I mean, you can slow down, let him go, right? And see if he's, yeah.
But when we had that club over from Germany and we took him down, it was a major divided highway, 2 lanes each direction. And I was driving the block vehicle behind the pack. And my instructions were nobody goes beside the pack. End of story. And we were going down through some busy sections of highway and nobody went beside the pack. Sorry, people. It's just not happening.
I mean, so what do you block? Do you block the highway so that they can't get around?
Yep. If they try to get around me on the left, I go left. They try to get around me on the right, I go right. Yeah. But that was I was told. No vehicles go beside this pack. So, and I was in the hang around stage back then. So I did it. We had, and then we got to the party, and the one guy from Germany and the little English that he could speak, right? Broken English. He's you're driving good. Thanks, bro. So
are you when you're a hang around, is it nerve wracking when you're like driving the spotter car and all that?
Yeah, they used to put tools in my car and send me. I'm like, I don't know, man. So years later, after those German guys, because that was the reason that they were over in Canada that time, on the last interview, was their club. I think it broke in half, and half went black and white, half went red and white. Same thing there. So at that party in Britain, the German guys were there. So I got to see him again. I hadn't seen him
Oh,
since I
yeah.
was a hang around.
And now
Yeah.
you remember,
Now I
right?
remember. And I was hey, bro, yeah, it was really cool. Like all
Yeah.
that stuff is really cool. So then, and these dudes, man, their bikes are fucking show bikes, right? Every bike that they're riding around for an everyday rider should be in every bike show, on every bike building fucking TV show. They're just beautiful. And the dudes are all big and steroided up and suntanned and tattooed and
Yeah.
gold. I'm like, fuck, bro. I go, what do you guys do over there, man? Like, I need some ideas and bring it back to Canada. He goes, well, you know, everything you do in Canada, like girls, like marijuana, like, you know, he says all that you can't do, or if you do it and you get caught, you go to jail. He says we get a license and we're allowed to do it.
In Germany?
They're allowed to run a brothel.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think wherever they were legalized weed before we did. So you know, like all of Canada's legal weed now. As long
I
as
mean, down in what is it, Las Vegas or Nevada, right? You can have a brothel down there.
yeah,
Can't you? Yeah, it's
yeah.
legal.
So they section off the red light district of the city, and they issue so many licenses for it, and you know, you do what you do to get a license, and you own a brothel, man. Why not?
During your time being in this club, do you meet a lot of other club members from different clubs?
Not too many. We had those guys, like I say, that ended up being Judas's from the Rock Machine that were coming down and hanging out with us. I knew some guys from a single chapter club, the Vagabonds, and I knew some other guys from a couple other single chapter clubs. And one of them ended up going, mostly all the members went red and white on the big that big patch over deal when they came to Ontario. So
Have you ever heard of anyone false flagging and claiming to be with you guys and really wasn't?
there was a guy, he was for my time. It's just one of those street tales that that Willie that brought me up told me. The guy wasn't quite all together, and he put he put the whole colors and the Charlie and the lettering and everything, and said I'm with you guys now, and they're like, you can't have that. He's like, I'm with you guys now, and like, oh fuck, man. So they had to go and black it out on him, right? Jesus.
What? That's crazy. He went and got a tattoo of you guys' logo on his.
Decided he was an outlaw.
That's crazy. I've heard stories of people that had angel tattoos or different club tattoos, and they weren't involved with the club or.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Like, what's your end game?
Why would you do something like that? It makes no sense.
Especially if you're hanging out in a biker bar trying to actually sell that story to someone, and then a real guy fucking walks in. That's what always happens. Who was that guy? Who was that guy you had on today? He was a funny guy. The guy who didn't make it as an HA probate or prospect.
Oh yeah. Breeze. Shout out to Breeze. That was a pre-recorded interview.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't live. Yeah. But
yeah,
he's a great guy. He started his own club.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I heard him saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a funny cat. That's funny, eh? You spend your whole life wanting to be a part of something, then you get there and you go, "Fuck, I didn't want this."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's how life can go.
So there's these two guys on the internet called the Twin Outlaw Brotherhood. Have you heard of these
them idiots? Yeah, I got them on TikTok.
Did you see the new video that they posted?
Well, the one night they were calling out the Outlaws, and then the next night they were calling out the Angels.
Yeah, here I'll play the video. Look.
To any outlaw that think that they're going to get this cut, you have no balls. So sit down in your rocker and keep rocking. To any outlaw that think that they're going to get this cut, you have no balls. So sit down in your rocker and keep rocking. Hell's Angels ain't got enough balls to come and get this. Hell's Angels ain't got enough balls to come and get this. Hell's Angels.
So they're calling out the Outlaws and calling out the Angels. What do you think of that?
They're a couple clout chasing weirdos. Like I've been following them, like not tight. I've been following them since they started, and they just started doing videos out of nowhere, right? And all of a sudden they made up their own crest, and then they all of a sudden they had cuts. I'm like, what the fuck?
They got 1%er patches on. That's dangerous game they're playing, I think.
Well, you can go on those fucking Chinese websites and order all that shit right to your house.
I know. I don't know why they're able to sell that.
I hate because you know, obviously what I follow and what I search, my timeline shows me up on biker stuff. And for the longest time, and this is the one that burns me the most, it's a guy that took, you know, support your local outlaws name and made a Facebook page out of it. Now he's selling outlaw support gear because it looks like his name's correct. It's got something to do with the outlaws are supporting them. Now he's getting fucking t-shirts printed, but he's putting the club logo that the citizens aren't allowed to have and selling them off online. So nobody's ever going to meet the guy. It's all that drop ship nonsense. You know what I mean? So you order from him and pay him, and some company in Malaysia prints it and ships it to you.
Oh, so and then you wear it on the street and your ass is in trouble.
Right. And some people don't even know the difference. And all this guy wants is $25 a t-shirt. He don't care. I don't know how many people have told him in comments, you're not allowed to sell this stuff because you're not an outlaw. And all that stuff and all those big clubs, even probably little clubs, it's all trademarked and copyrighted.
Yeah, everything belongs to the club.
Yeah, you can't use that shit. Yeah, so
what do you think of the Outlaw Archives? The guy that collects all the paraphernalia like cuts and things like that. Have you seen him?
No, but man, oh man, when I was in the club, they had that book with all them old photographs issued at that time. So when I was at a party in Michigan, I don't know, I bought like 5 of them and brought them all home with me. The cops fucking took them all, man. They were so cool. All them photos you saw through that movie, at the end of that movie, were in the fucking book that I had.
Really?
I bought one for me and one for a few other brothers and one for the clubhouse, right?
Yeah.
The fucking cops took them all. So there's supposed to be this famous photo from way back in the day at a Chicago Blackhawk hockey game. The mayor of Chicago, the boss of the Outlaws, and the boss of the mob from back then sitting watching a hockey game together.
Is it still out there, the picture?
I don't know.
Who was it? The boss of the Outlaws?
Yep. The mayor of Chicago and the boss of the fucking mob.
What game were they at?
The Chicago Blackhawk game was an ice hockey game.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, that photo apparently exists. Same with that photo from that picture book, with the outlaw riding the bike with the Hell's Angel on the back. That happened. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
Yeah, they were hanging. They were having fun.
I have a picture. I don't know if you've seen it with Outlaw, Mongol, Hell's Angel, and a pagan all together.
All standing, and it's all their backs.
They're all holding their cuts up like this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because usually we would do it like when I went to the bike week. There was what's the name there? George from the Banditos, and
George Weggers.
Yeah, and these 2 guys from the Sons of Silence, I believe, man. And so we would line up together so our back patches were in a row and take photos that way. So no faces, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of pictures online of them with their backs.
Yeah. Even within the different clubs' own website, they'll post some pictures up because, even down the road, if you post up a picture today and it's like, yeah, the cops already know I'm a member and what's it going to hurt, right? It'll come up in court somewhere in a bail hearing. Usually they come up in bail hearings because whatever the Crown says in a bail hearing doesn't necessarily got to be true. So,
I mean, you're not even a member anymore, and they would still bring it up if anything happened.
right. Up until I got my pardon there 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, up until I got my pardon, they would pull me over in a random city like an hour north of Toronto, and fucking 4 cops would roll up to a stop for a speeding ticket or something, right? Yeah. So, and they were always like, "Can we get in your car?" And it's like, "No, man, I know my rights. You cannot get in my car." Well, just let me have a look.
Anything to try to, escape the law.
Because we don't have the same thing as you guys. We have what's called the Charter of Rights. I posted on the Facebook group. There's only 2 or 3 rights that we have in Canada, right?
Really?
The press, speech, and assembly. That's about it, really.
Like here, we have the right to bear arms, but I'm a felon. I can't even carry a gun, so that's out.
And we never could. And all these guys that are running for the federal election, they're all gonna clamp down on guns smuggled in from the States. Every gun that's used in a murder up here originated in the United States. Every one of them. And now they got the 3D printers too, and you can get parts in the mail and all sorts of stuff going on, right?
Are there a lot of guns up there in Canada?
No. The old saying, and the old Outlaws used to have the T-shirts that said, "When guns are outlaws, only outlaws will have guns." And that's kind of how it's gone to Canada. If you're a criminal, chances are you got one. If you're not, you'll never ever fucking even see one in your lifetime.
And that's the thing. Criminals don't follow the law. So it doesn't matter how many laws you have.
That's why
criminals don't follow the law. They're like, we're going to crack down on these laws. They don't give a shit what your laws are.
No.
They're going to do what they want. So it just defeats the purpose.
They're buying that gun to do someone serious damage already. So, like you say, change every law you want to, but if they want to have one and they got the means, they'll have one.
100%.
All they do is they drive up the prices for the guys who smuggle them into the country.
Yeah.
That's all it does ultimately. They're putting more money in the bad guy's pocket.
Definitely.
Because, and they've done a million shows on how they get here. It starts out one of those open air markets, a gun show, because there's less paperwork apparently. And one guy can go to 8 tables and buy 8 items. And they don't take up much space.
Yeah.
And away they go in a car, right from, usually from Florida, I think is what I understand, but who knows?
They probably come from all over.
I think so. It usually just takes one guy who's a backyard gun dealer.
There's quite a bit of shootings there too, right?
No, but I guess there is if you include Quebec, and they're part of Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of a lot of mob murders up there. A lot of.
Yeah, they'll shoot at each other. That's for sure.
So you can't even have like a shotgun for like.
Yeah. That's the thing. So they had to give everyone a pass on shotguns and a normal gun that like a farmer would have, out at the farm for an animal's got to be put
like
down.
a rifle or something like that. Yeah.
Like my dad hunted. He had a moose, a 30-06 maybe. I don't know about long guns, and he had a 12, a pump. I think everyone's got a 12 gauge pump, and he had another big gun, but like you say, they were for moose, right?
Yeah.
He shot at 2 things, either moose or goose. So,
But you can't have a handgun, Canada. No handgun.
Now you can own one, and you can leave it in your gun safe with a trigger lock, and you can take it out and put it into something out and transport it a certain way and go to the gun range with it.
But you can't walk around, have it on your hip, none of that.
No, but it's really, really hard just to get permission just to buy it. Like back in the day, pretty much anyone who took that I think is a weekend gun course and got their gun license. And then if you wanted to order a Glock online or go to the gun store, they'd have one for you.
Yeah.
And again, you can never carry it anywhere except for the gun range.
It's pretty crazy.
And you can't sell it from like me to you.
Yeah, they have to be aware of what's going on.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They got to know who owns it at all times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Well,
yeah, man.
You got a lot of stories, and definitely keep them coming, because I'm always interested in hearing more from you. People are going to love this interview. I'm starting to drop the first episode tomorrow, matter of fact.
All right, cool.
Part 1 tomorrow.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it's good, man. I really I worked it out. I worked on it real hard too. So
Nice.
there's 9 episodes.
But well, we talked for a long time.
Yeah.
I think it was almost 2 hours or something that day.
Yeah.
It was hour 40 something. But yeah. Okay, bro. Well, I want to see what's going on with my son. I'm hearing some banging and crashing noises, and I'll go make sure he's okay with the doggies.
All right, man. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Make sure you guys go subscribe to Biker News Canada. Check out his book. What is it? One Night at the Playground?
One Night at the Playpen.
One Night at the Playpen. Go check out the book and subscribe.
And thanks for everyone who's been coming over and subscribing here from Stacks. I appreciate it. Yeah, I've seen the numbers go up, and yeah, I appreciate it.
Keep pushing, man.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you. If you like this show, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like this show, too bad. Start your own podcast. Peace.